Hello, I'm Jody Wolf. You're watching Expoz. It is June 10, 2017 at 11:02 p.m. And this is kind of part two of the numbers, but it's really not about numbers at all, not in the way the last blog was. But in the end, you will see that you're belong in a much tighter, closer knit category than what we just learned here. And believe it or not, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump and the Illuminati and the rapture of the church. So let's start off. You're still going to be in a category, and there's some numbers here that we'll go and look at and try to decide the meaning of the numbers, and then you will see kind of where we stand today, and it'll make sense in the end. Okay, rapture, again, is imminent. Somebody said it, describe imminent. He's, well, any minute, in a minute. And then it kind of makes sense. Imminent or in a minute, it's kind of what it means. Any moment. So I never said that September 23, 2017, that we'll have a rapture of the church. I never said that, and I won't say that. I said it looks like bad times will come upon this event or come with this event. And I still believe that September 23, 2017 will bring an unknown but yet scary times ahead. It could usher in the final 7 years. And a lot of people, more and more people are coming on board with this same thought. The rapture of the church is not hinged on any event. There are no prophecies that have to be fulfilled. They need to be, those that need to be fulfilled prior to the church being taken up have been. So there's none left. There's nothing that has to be fulfilled in order for the rapture to occur. I'm leading somewhere, guys. So the Bible tells us, and it uses numbers, 1/3 of all people will die prior to the midway point of the 7-year tribulation. So with 1/3 of the people dying, I've heard people turn that around and say, no, it's 1/4 of the people. That's not biblical. It's 1/3 the first 3.5 years, and then 1/4 the next 3.5 years, which equals 1/2 of the world's population will die. But how many of us went up? How many got out? Well, it doesn't matter. You take the number of people that are on earth at that time, and half of them will die at halfway point in the tribulation. So the Bible tells us that 1/3 of all people will die prior to the midpoint in 7 years. And it also tells us at different judgments and vials that 1/3 of the fish will die at one time, then 1/3 of all green grass will die at one time, and then the total green grass on 1/3 of the earth all burned up, and then 2/3 of all the trees die, 2/3 of all the Jews, get this, will be cut off. That means midway through the tribulation, when the false prophet steps into the temple and demands to be worshipped, the Jews are going to say, you're not our God. You are not a God. And that's when they will flee. But 2/3 of them will be cut off. 2/3 of the Jews will be killed then. They'll rape and pillage all that they can get their hands on before they kill them. But they'll kill them. That's why God tells them, drop whatever you're doing, and flee to the mountains. That's when the archangel Michael will take them to Petra and keep them safe. But 2/3, keep in mind, we got 1/3, 2/3, and here's another 2/3 coming up. And 1/3 of the waters turns to blood. This is, the 2 witnesses can do this in that general area. There's 3.5 years, and then 1/4 of all people will die after the next 3.5, or when the next 3.5 years began. So the total dead will be half the people on earth. Don't know how many is going to be raptured. No one knows how many people are saved You can call yourself whatever you want. You can call yourself Hindu, but if you're saved by the blood, you're a Christian. That's the church. So with 7.5 billion today, here, take the religion. So take the 31% of the people who are Christian. It does not say that many are saved. It means we live in a Christian nation. There are more than one Christian nation. It's where more people believe in Jesus Christ than Allah. No, doesn't say that, doesn't mean that. Just says that 31% of the people are Christian. But how many of those 31%, how many of them are saved? How many of them will go up prior to the final 7 years of tribulation? So no one knows that. But putting the numbers together, 1/3, 1/2, 1/4, and 2/3, I would not expect greater than 2/3 of the 31% of people will be saved. Here's where I'm leading. Blog. This is all about Donald Trump. With these numbers I just went through for a reason. It's all about Agenda 21 being delayed by prayers, by God answering our prayers. Those prayers, everybody that prayed, God answered the prayer. Okay, it was all a lie. So liberal left, move on. Well, you can't, because since Russia and Donald Trump weren't in cahoots after all, everything they believed on was hinging on that. Well, they found out that didn't happen. So instead of moving on, they chose another subject, victimizing Trump again at another angle with a different subject, whatever that subject may be, whatever they want to throw at him, which again is another lie. So here's what it boils down to. Okay, it was all a lie, says the liberal left. Instead of moving on, they can't, but they have to decide to go to another lie and harp on it until it's proven to be false. And so this is what's going on. They'll move from one to another until all of them have been returned not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. So then they'll go on and move on to another. Well, let's make this one and pin him to this one, which is another lie. It's like Donald Trump and we Christians, and I believe that with my heart, threw a friggin' monkey wrench in the spokes of the media, the liberal, everything that has a liberal attached to it, and it flipped them over on top of their heads, and they have gone nuts. But it's not about that either. It's about the biggest lie. It's about something that they hate you for, and they want you gone for it, because they have already been paid off. And then it's not about Donald Trump the man. It's about the men who took their dreams away. The money that will be lost, the money that's promised them, it's all about being paid to give the United States to the Pope, and then to the UN, and then to the Antichrist. Because they sold out. All of you, listen to me. They sold out. All of America, you and me, for money. They sold us out. They're not pissed off at Trump because he was in cahoots with Russia. That has nothing to do with the price of beans in China. They sold out. And since they cannot follow through with a title deed to the United States to hand to the Pope, so he can hand it to the UN, and so the UN can send anybody they want over here to take over this country, which is the Antichrist, they're pissed off because they can't offer up to us or to them what they sold us out for. In other words, The buyer is withholding their check until they can perform. And they're not going to perform as long as the church is here. And I say today, the United States is a Christian nation. Not hell or high water can stop it. And we'll be here until God decides that it's time to let the world have this so-called party that they have been planning on for 1,000 and more years for. Been planning on it since the days of Nimrod. And it just got to the point where they can actually see it through. But they got a monkey wrench in the spokes and got slammed face planted right on the sidewalk, and it pissed them off. And when they get over the fact that Trump and Russia wasn't in it, then they'll go move to Trump and bubblegum, and then Trump and suckers or whatever. It's always Trump and something, but all that's nothing but a smoke screen. It's looking through dirty water. It's all about they sold America out, but they cannot deliver America to those who they sold out to. Illuminati furnished the money. The UN, the Pope, and the Antichrist cannot receive the bill of goods until we Christians are out of here, folks. That's the story. That's the truth. Jody Wolf Expoz.